Thanks for tuning in to Men for the Win, a podcast hosted by David Kufis and Dan Thompson, two avid fans who appreciate well-played baseball, especially when it's done by the Twins. Men for the Win is sponsored by the Grand Group with Edina Realty. Are you looking to purchase a new home in the Twin Cities area? Or perhaps you're trying to sell your current home? Whether you're upsizing or downsizing, the Grand Group with Edina Realty will meet all of your housing needs. Contact the Grand Group by emailing thegrand, G-R-A-N, group at edinarealty.com or call them by phone at 612-817-8751. The Grand Group with Edina Realty, 7-time Minneapolis-St. Paul Magazine Super Agent Award winners. Men for the Win is part of the Pull Tab Sports Network, covering sports, culture, and entertainment across the Midwest. Check them out at pulltabsports.com and give them a follow on all your social media platforms at Pull Tab Sports. On this episode, David and Dan recap the Twins' 3-game series against the Tampa Bay Rays, Miami Rays. Where do they play now, Dan?
Still in Tampa.
Oh, okay, good. Against the Tampa Bay Rays. Thanks for listening. Enjoy. Thanks for tuning in to Men for the Win. My name is David Kufis. With me, as always, is Dan Thompson. The Twins dropped their first series after winning 7 straight and then splitting one with Cleveland. That wasn't really a real series, but it was very sad, Dan, on our little spreadsheet to put a lower number in the Twins win column as opposed to the opponent. Are we going to be able to come back from this, Dan?
Yeah, I think so. The Rays are actually playing pretty good baseball here. When the Twins did win their one game, it ended a 6-game winning streak for the Rays. So all in all, they seem to be enjoying too playing in this other stadium at George Steinbrenner Field instead of the Trop.
Do you know what their attendance is, if it's gotten better since the transition?
I have not looked up all of the numbers, but I was just counting. So the first game had about 9,000 or 8,000. The second game had 10,000, and then the third game had 8,000. And Justin Morneau made this point on I think it was in game 2. He's like, 11,000 people at this stadium feels a whole lot better than 11,000 at the Trop.
Yes, definitely. It seemed like a really nice place to play baseball, actually, except for left field, which we'll talk about a little bit later. The other thing, you could kind of tell that the cameras were a bit off. It felt a little spring training-y. Anytime the camera was on the pitcher or the hitter, it was a little fuzzy. And also, the on-field mic stand were picking up everything. You could hear any conversation you wanted to that was happening in the stands.
Yeah, probably something MLB does not want to do permanently here, but I don't know, the situation couldn't have been much better for the Rays, all things considered. Doesn't really change their location very much. It did, I heard it threw off the Twins a little bit because they had made their travel plans closer to the Trop, and then they had to get a police escort. I think it was, somebody was writing about it. I think it was Phil Miller. It just reminds you that where the Trop is in that part of that metro area is a terrible place to have a baseball stadium. You would think that they would learn, and hopefully when they build another one, they put it in a more accessible place.
Here's to hoping, Dan. Well, with that, let's go ahead and jump into the series recap.
Series recap.
Dan, all of these games felt a little boring. It just felt like not a lot happened. There were some high tension moments, but they were very few and far between. Game 1, Twins dropped this one 7-2. Paddock's on the mound, and I'm all excited because he's a hot weather guy, Dan. I think he's going to be ready to rock here. He loves the warmth. He goes 5 1/3, 5 hits, 2 earned run, 5 Ks. Just not a ton to say here, Dan. Bottom of the 4th, Ty France makes a great play on a ball hit down the line while he was playing in on the grass. So that means the reaction speed we're talking about here, it's not like he's even with the bag. I mean, he had to spear that thing, Dan.
Wax on, wax off.
It's those cat-like France reaction times, I suppose. I mean, it is. I guess it's not the hot corner, but what would you call first base? The warm corner?
The warm corner, yeah. It's set to warm on the crock pot, right?
I was thinking too. Maybe one of the reasons that there weren't a lot of big plays made, or that it wasn't very exciting, is because it's so dang humid and hot in Tampa, and it's that feeling when you go outside and on one of those really hot, humid days in Minnesota in the summer, you don't want to do a lot of things, and so maybe that's kind of how everybody was feeling all the time. We'll play hard for a few innings, but it's very sticky.
Don't forget to bring a towel.
That's definitely how Game 3 felt, Dan. But bottom of the 6th, this is when the Rays do the majority of their damage here. They get to Paddock, low singles, followed by a Caminero double. Stewart's brought in, Dan, and gives up a 3-run homer to Aranda. Tampa leads 3-0. And then again in the bottom of the 6th, there's this weird play where Rocco challenges a pickoff attempt done by Brock Stewart. You have Meisner on first. He retreats to first on the throw, but he steps all the way over the first base bag before advancing to second on the overthrow by Stewart. So Rocco comes out and he challenges that Misner never retouched first after retreating past the first base bag. The call's upheld. They say that he never fully retreated past the first base bag. Dan, I didn't know this was a rule. Justin Morneau didn't. Corey Provis didn't. Did you know this was a thing?
Retreating, first of all, is kind of a weird term in baseball.
Yes.
Run away! Run away! Run away!
I didn't know, but it's one of those where it doesn't really pass the smell test. It's like, well, this doesn't seem like he broke any rules. So I'm glad that they didn't end up changing. Also, you have to be careful with your Lowe versus Lau here, David. I believe you were talking about Brandon Lau in this situation.
I'm sorry.
And we are a podcast that prides ourselves on pronouncing things properly. So
of course,
it's Brandon Lau, not whatever Lowe's first name is. I can't even remember.
See, too many people with the same name, Dan. But anyway, top of the seventh, the only real excitement for Twins fans was Correa hitting a long 2-run homer to left, making it a 1-run game. But the Twins can do nothing more offensively. Cody Funderburk gets absolutely rocked. 4 earned runs on 6 hits in the bottom of the 8th. There was this weird no catch by Larnach in left field. Just a weird place to play baseball, apparently, in left field.
It almost looked like it was like darker in left field. Like there was a shadow that was over there. He looked incredibly lost out there.
Yeah.
It was a bad look, because otherwise, if he makes that catch, this could be a very different game there. But he was kind of there, but he wasn't.
Yeah, I don't know. I would be less willing to be gracious towards him if I hadn't seen the disaster that was Willie Castro in left field. But apparently it's just a difficult place to play, Dan.
But Willie Castro, like when the ball bounced, like it was weird bounces too. And you're like playing up against the bullpen out there in left. Like that's all very uncomfortable, very minor league-ish, which I know that it is a minor league stadium too. But no, it was not a great. I mean, it didn't end up really costing the team, but it made this game a whole lot less close than it could have been.
Certainly. So Twins finish with just 1 at bat with runners in scoring position, while Rays go 4 and 6 in the same situations. Game 2 here, Dan. The lone bright spot for the Twins in the series. They win this one 4-2. They get on the board early in the top of the first with a Larnach double, followed by a Correa bloop single, and then Lee hits a sac fly to get the Twins on the board. Now you have a note here about Larnach's slide.
Well, it was an artful slide into home plate where it is really hard. You need to watch the replay, but it was one of those plays where Larnach was safe because he slid well, and especially after his antics in left field, I thought it was a nice sign of his footwork.
It was an interesting note on that play as well that Morneau made, that he said, that's not the runner's call. Like, that's Tommy Watkins telling him to go, and the base runner just does whatever the third base coach says.
I mean, it wasn't a deep hit ball to left field.
No.
I mean, I was kind of surprised that he went for it.
Yeah, I agree. And so what I'm saying here, Dan, is all of my criticisms about Tommy Watkins in such situations can now be taken at face value. There are no qualifiers necessary here, Dan.
Well, and then the bottom of the first is when more weird things happen. So Joe Ryan balks. There was a couple balks in this series, actually, by the Twins. So it moved the runner to second. Then Willie Castro loses a ball in left field entirely. I mean, he could have put his glove up and it landed like 10 feet away. Like he was not very close to this. So the runner only goes to third though because of that. So you got runners at the corners now with 1 out. And then the Twins were able to turn a key 6-4-3 double play that was initially called safe at first, but he was out, but barely. It was a good challenge. Early in the game, you kind of get worried about those, but that kept the Twins lead at 1-0. And so that was a wise choice there by Rocco.
Yeah, then top of the second, our guy, Dan, Cody Clemens, which you've written with a C, it looks like here, Dan. It's Cody with a K. Dan,
that was your note that I was updating, David. So now I've changed it. I've no typos in the spreadsheet can be accounted to me. You have Funderburk like he was like a European scholar from the 1800s there with an E at the end of it.
I read a lot of 1800 scholars, Dan. But so anyway, Cody Clemens homers to center, his 5th of the season, and it's a fun home run because it goes like, I think it's like a camera well or something, but it goes in the window of this little tent, and it's like, that doesn't happen again all season. I guarantee it, Dan. A really cool thing. Just watch the replay, folks, just so you can see where the ball lands. It's pretty fascinating.
Bottom of the second, again, the Rays get runners at first and third, but there were 2 outs this time, and then the Twins cut down the runner at home trying for the double steal, kind of a Jeffers to Correa and then back to Jeffers play. Again, good defensive plays keeping the Rays at bay here. And it's nice to see other teams making mistakes on the base paths and not the Twins.
Well, just watching this play too, the throw by Jeffers is not good. So it's a bad throw, it skips, but Correa is so on it, Dan. He's like 4 or 5 feet in front of second base, knowing he's going to field it and throw it to home. Like there's no doubt in Correa's mind, there's no play at second. All he's doing is throwing it back home. And that timing was essential to get that out at home. A really cool play.
Clever girl.
See, I think that actually Jeffers knew what he was doing. See, he was trying to outsmart the base runner, so he threw it short on purpose, knowing that Carlos Correa would pick it up.
It could be. It very well could be. I'm not even going to mock that as like a sarcastic comment because it very well could be, knowing how good Carlos Correa is.
Bottom of the fourth, Cody Clemens. See, we missed it. There's another C there. Cody with a K makes a nice diving catch in right field, saves an RBI hit temporarily. Aranda ends up getting the RBI, but it kind of avoids a little bit more trouble there. Top of the sixth, we will come back to that there, but the Twins do score a run on an error. Joe Ryan finishes his day with 6 innings, 5 hits, 1 walk, 1 earned run, 85 pitches, 52 strikes. His ERA is at 2.9. 2.57, which is one of the better ones in the American League. The Rays do get a run in the bottom of the 7th off of Louis Varland when Caballero gets on. He's still second and then third on consecutive pitches, ends up scoring on a grounder, so it's 3-2, and that keeps it close.
So this was a little bit annoying to me that Varland never even looked at him the whole time he was on base. And granted, first pitch goes, he's just running, I get it. But still, look him back once or twice. You know what I mean? Don't just be yeah, we're going to give you these bases and we'll see if you can beat Jeffers. Well, the guy's faster than the speed of light, Dan. You're not going to get him here if you do nothing to shorten his lead.
But Jeffers nearly got him at third, too. That was a close play there.
Close.
It was a good throw.
Bride's tag, I think, was about as good as it could get for Bride.
Yes, the Bride standard.
Yes.
Yeah, by that standard, yes. Top of the 8th, though, the Twins do add a key run with a Correa double and then a France 2-out RBI single, so it's 4-2. It gets a little dicey in the bottom of the 9th. Duran allows a base runner, and then the last out is Caballero hitting a ball right to the fence in left field, 352 feet by StatTrack. But that is out number 3, and so the Twins do secure a 4-2 win, and you think, okay, at least they got one win here in the series down in the humidity.
Yeah, and I didn't realize the Rays had been on such a streak here. That was an end to their 6-game winning streak. Unfortunately, they started a new streak today, Dan. Twins lose this one 5-0. The Twins make Drew Rasmussen look like a Cy Young candidate, which I guess he kind of is what you said.
Well, that was the thing.
Here,
so
Dan?
at first, when I wrote that, I was like, who is this guy? But it's his ERA is down to 2.33, which is top 10 in the majors among starters. So he went 6 innings, just 1 hit, 1 walk, no runs. The Twins just could not get base runners against him, and Pablo Lopez just wasn't as good. I gotta think, though, he must have gone through, 3, 4, 5 jerseys down there in this game? Maybe a new one every inning?
I think he should have tried a vest, Dan.
'Cause my chest is cold and my arms aren't.
I would love to see Pablo come out in just a vest version, like a cutoff version of the jersey.
Yes.
Oh man,
great,
that would be
Dan.
pretty funny.
Remember those old Rockies jerseys,
You're right. They did kind of have that style for a while.
Yeah.
Maybe they need to go back to that too, I think, with their 9 wins.
I don't know that jerseys are the problem there, Dan. In the old Colorado Rockies, I don't think the jerseys are the problem.
Pablo, though, he only goes 5 innings, 7 hits, which was the most that he'd given up since 8 in opening day to St. Louis. Also 2 walks, 4 earned runs, 3 strikeouts. The Rays got their first 3 runs on home runs in the bottom of the 4th by Brandon Lau and Junior Caminero. Another run on an RBI single in the 5th by Jonathan Aranda. But what was frustrating was that in the 7th and the 8th, the Twins got the first 2 hitters on in both innings. And then in the 7th, they went fly out, fly out, fly out. And in the 8th, they went strike out, line out, ground out. So it's just dispiriting because you figure if they can get one back in each of those innings, then, you still feel pretty good.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them.
It did not pay off, Dan. Yeah, Twins finish 0 for 8 with runners in scoring position. No extra base hits among their 6 hits, Dan. And just the offensive production is starting to become worrisome, Dan. And we'll talk a lot about that later.
But you know what's not worrisome, David? Is if you have Gateway Fiber, your high-speed internet is the least of your worries. Attention, Minnesota. There's a new high-speed internet sheriff in town. It's Gateway Fiber. It's landed in Blaine, Brooklyn Park, Champlin, Coon Rapids, Maple Grove, and Plymouth with plans to expand deeper into Minnesota. Gateway Fiber boasts a fiber optic network that exceeds the capabilities of some of the biggest players in the business, giving you more whiz for less cost for all your online working, streaming, and gaming. With no hidden fees, no data caps, and no installation fees, Gateway Fiber is perfect for your home or business. So go to gatewayfiber.com to get fast, reliable, and affordable high-speed fiber internet.
Catch 'em all, Kirby Puckett!
Puckett's Picks winner.
Had Hogs just waited until he knew for sure who was coming off the IL, my guy Correa comes away with the victory for me, thank goodness, scores 10 points, Dan, and gives me the bonus, believe it or not.
Yeah, and he was kind of the one guy who performed well here. I think this is hilarious that the second place pick is Hogs picking Buxton, who had 0 points. I picked Lewis, who had -2. The listeners went with Jeffers, who had -6, which I think was a new season low. So bummer for the listeners. It does give you the bonus point as well. So now Hogs has a lead 7.5 in the season wins column. You have 6.5. I have 4. The listeners have 2.5.
Beast versus Bench.
Is losing fun? Is losing fun?
I mean, how could I not pick Correa, right? I mean, on both sides of the ball, he was great. Maybe the time off, like we've talked about a few different times, Dan, is what we have suggested is what he needed. Sort of a bummer that it has to come in the way that it did with a collision with Buxton causing a concussion. But my goodness, Dan, 5 for 12, made a couple of really good defensive plays. It's so important for this infield that Carlos is there leading the charge.
Absolutely. My pick is one of the pitchers. It's Joe Ryan. Just continues to pitch well. He's been a rock for this. I wonder if he had a little bit more more going here just because the Rays are the team that drafted him. That trade, too, getting him from the Rays for Nelson Cruz, I believe it was, just one heck of a deal.
Certainly. For my bench, I have to go with Castro here. 1 for 7. He looked pretty lost in left field. And honestly, his at-bats just don't look good, Dan. And it's so confusing to me because I think with Willie, so much of it seems like a mental game. So many of the mistakes he makes are mental mistakes. They're not physical mistakes or a lack of ability. It's like his head just isn't quite there. So I'm hoping that Rocco can work some magic here to get Willie more locked in, especially in these at-bats here. You have to lay off these pitches. He gets up there, Dan, and he's just hacking at everything that he sees.
Yeah, he moves around a lot in the field. I do wonder if that's at all a factor in this. I mean, he's been playing a lot of different positions, but maybe a reset. He's been low in the lineup too, though. It's not like they're asking a lot of Willie right now. I'm going to go with a guy who was actually batting second, I believe, in every game here, and it was Ryan Jeffers. He was hitless in the series. He did get on base once and get a walk after a walk and scored a run, but they needed more out of him. You need more out of your second hitter than an offer.
Well, let's push here, Dan. Rocco's Rewind.
Rocco's Rewind.
I have to say, it was good to see Rocco try and give Funderburk a bounce-back outing, even if it didn't go well. I think part of the reason why it was good is because knowing how the Twins like to use their AAA options, it's a little surprising that Cody Funderburk is still on the roster right now, knowing that he's kind of a cleanup guy. So the fact that Rocco put him back out there, you're thinking one of two things. Either the Twins are saying, hey, we want to keep you on the roster and we just want to give you a little boost, or they're thinking, hey, we're going to use your arm while we have it. We're going to get rid of you here. So I feel a little bad for Cody Funderburk because I doubt he knows which way the Twins are leaning right now, but letting another earned run in does not help his case.
They're probably just waiting until Danny Coulomb is back, right? And they could save themselves the transaction and the airfare. Plus, right now, I mean, getting him from Tampa.
You think about airfare more than anybody else in regards to the Twins' travel plans, except for, that's really funny. I had a buddy IM me this week saying, hey, I was just wondering if teams send starting pitchers ahead, especially on these long flights.
Yeah, I know some teams do.
Apparently some teams do. So I guess you're not the only one thinking about travel arrangements this week, Dan.
That would be a lonely trip from Tampa to Seattle, I think, by yourself. Like, at least be with your buddies who can play cards. I have another thing that relates to the pitchers. So I'm pretty sure that the rule is that you can use the designated hitter for anybody, right? Can you not? Or does it have to be for the pitcher, David?
The designated... Yeah, you can't. I see what you're saying. No, you can't have somebody playing in the field and then have somebody hit for them who's not the pitcher, Dan.
Because
that's not how the Ohtani rules work.
Right, thank you, because I wondered. Because if they could change that rule, can we call it the Keirsey rule? Because I don't want to see Deshaun Keirsey Jr. batting ever if I can avoid it. That man, he's still on the roster, but his batting average after this game is 111 with an OPS of 297. That's Luis Arias's batting average, like, after a bad month. Right, like, I don't know that Luis Arias has ever finished a season with a lower batting average than Deshaun Keirsey Jr.'s OPS right now. It is just baffling to me that this man is still on the roster, and I know they don't have anybody else, but Deshaun must only be a pinch runner and a defensive substitution late in games. He cannot take any more at-bats.
We'll have to see, Dan. I don't know. I think he's probably still on the roster until at least Wallner comes back.
And I know, and people rave, oh, Deshaun Keirsey, what a nice guy. Oh, of the 27 guys in the room, he's the one that we root for the hardest. They got to do more rooting because it's not working.
It's sort of like the trophy they give in what's the Iditarod, the horse race, where they give like the light to the person who comes in last. I forget what that is.
Just like, thank goodness you made it to the end. Yeah,
exactly.
That's what he feels like right now.
Okay, well, let's go here. Minnesota moment.
Minnesota moment.
So I know this isn't in order of games, but it's thematically related. Game 3, top of the 8th. Carson McCusker, mighty Keirsey, comes to bat.
All rise for Dan's Judge Love.
Exactly. And that man's first major league hit is not a towering fly ball to left field. It's not a solid single to the gap. It's not even a bunt. It's a bloop single hit at 66.7 miles an hour to right field. If baseball doesn't have a sense of irony, then I don't know what else it is. This was fantastic. Way to go, Carson. I do. I bow. I give you a hat tip or whatever it is, Carson, for finally getting on base in a legitimate way.
Guys nowadays can't really hide like you probably could in the old days, because Morneau said, well, he'll probably remember that as a bullet to right field, in his memoirs. But it's like, yeah, but then someone's going to go to StatCast and within 2 minutes be able to tell you you that no, in fact, it wasn't a bullet. It was actually a bloop single. But anyway, I have to go game 2, top 6. When the Rays fail to turn this double play and it leads to a Twins run, and that run, Dan, my goodness, runs are vital for this team. I know that's a dumb thing to say because obviously you need runs to win baseball games. But for the Twins, a run to the Twins is worth more than 3 runs to any other team right now, because of the way the pitching staff is so good and how our offense is so terrible right now. So for the Twins, yes, runs are very important, more important than I would say to almost any other team in baseball right now.
Well, that's a good transition actually into our Mauer's musing.
I just don't know how it can get any better.
Mauer's musings.
So Dan, my question is, the Twins offense will be at full strength with the imminent returns of Buxton and Wallner. If the offense still struggles, can this team compete in the long haul, Dan? How good is this pitching staff? Can it really continue on this trajectory?
I think I've probably got some receipts in our text thread. Somebody saying it doesn't matter how bad your lineup is if you've got a top 3 pitching staff or something like that. I feel
Was
like
it me?
you've been I think you've been the great defender of that pitching can eventually heal all ills, right?
It can, but the offense has to do something. I think I've said, to finish my quotes here, what I typically say is pitching wins championships. This Twins team can be successful as long as the offense is even adequate, Dan.
Yeah, I think it'll get back to adequate. I think at some point here. It has to, right? You've got Buxton coming back. You've got Wallner coming back. The lack of depth in the 40-man is pretty obvious right now. And that's where I think it is more likely that they're going to make a trade at some point here to get just another big bat, because they can't keep doing it. Right now, if they released Deshaun Keirsey, I don't know that he would get picked up. Like, I think you could clear a space on the 40-man right now for somebody. So it's got to. I just hope this is one of those lulls. It was just weird that they went down for a team that loves to play in the heat and is so familiar with that weather down in Florida, you would think. I was surprised it didn't happen a little bit more, but the Rays also have good pitching too. So
fair enough. What do you have here, Dan?
Well, okay, so we haven't heard from this guy in a while.
I am not throwing away my shot.
Because Jose Miranda, after his unfortunate wrist injury handling bottled water, has been mired at AAA, and I don't think he's playing all that well down there. Like, his batting average is not going up. But there's another guy.
He did have one good game, I think, so far in his return.
Well, speaking of one good game, there's a third baseman for the Twins, and his name is Royce Lewis. And I know how we feel about Royce.
He is the one.
But right now it feels more like this.
You were the chosen one.
I mean, his batting average, David.
Make another Luis Arraez comparison.
There you go. I mean, his batting average right now is 138. He's got 9 hits in 65 at bats. His OPS is 415. We've seen Luis Arraez bat that for almost an entire season. Again, a batting average higher. So if his name wasn't Royce, would he already be at AAA?
Yeah, no question. The thing is, he's been really good in the field. Like, he's a very solid third baseman. I think he's actually taken some steps compared to last season. But right now, the bat's not there. And he's making contact. Like, here's the thing. Almost every out for him today was over 100 miles an hour off the bat. It was just hit right at the center field. So I think maybe you let him try and struggle through it here. But with the end of last season and the way that this season has started for him after he's come off the IL, it doesn't look great, Dan. Like, you have to do something to change his approach, unless you are really going to chalk everything up to bad luck here, just hitting where they are at this moment.
Well, and somebody might know this better than I do. I'm not big on noticing the differences in batting stances, but it did look like he was a little bit more open today, that his left foot was a little bit opened up. So I wonder, like you said, he didn't strike out in the series. He was 0 for 7. So maybe there are some of those signs. He did the out at the end of the game today was a deep fly ball to the left. So you're right. Maybe his timing's just a little bit off. And we are just a couple of series removed from his big game against Milwaukee. So maybe I'm overly concerned, but I also think they don't have anybody else to go to on the 40-man now anyway.
Series grades.
I'm going to give him a D on this one, Dan. They won one, and honestly, this team likes the heat, but game 3 was silly. And sort of what you alluded to earlier, where it just seemed like the guys just didn't really want to be out there because it was so miserable. That's how it seemed. And you have to remember, Dan, the Twins are sort of dealing with these ghosts of old because they're playing in a stadium that still has the feeling of Yankee Stadium, Dan. So I don't know. I think it's fine. You won one. Bounce back here, take a couple against the Mariners, and get back on track.
Hold on 1 second.
I'm not superstitious, but I am a little stitious.
Are you saying that Steinbrenner Field is haunted by Yankee ghosts or memories of when Aaron Judge was a AAA player or something like that, and that maybe that was spooking the Twins and their old ill play against the Yankees?
Have you not seen Field of Dreams? Well, What are you talking? Yeah, of course that's what's happening.
So maybe there's something there. That makes me feel a lot better actually about the series when you say it like that. So with my rubric on the pendulum scale, -2 to 2, the momentum, this is the first one that I think I have to give them a negative number. I think it's -1. The pitching was good, but the bats were not there. They didn't move forward with this. I think more concerns came up than things that we're excited about. That said, I think the decision making was pretty good overall. It was because they couldn't get hits with guys on base that they lost this series, or because they didn't play well on the field. Now, their stars, Correa played well, but Royce did not play well. Pablo did not play well. Joe was okay, so I just gave him a 0 on that. The mids, Cody Clemens had his home run, but there wasn't. It's hard when your whole lineup doesn't really do much to give high scores here. I went with a -1 for the mids, and then the youth, McCusker, Keirsey, Lee. I can't give a positive number because one guy got his first major league hit on a blooper, so that's a -1. So if I convert that back to the 5-point scale, that's 2 plus 5 plus 3 plus 2 plus 2 is 14 out of 25 multiplied by 4, and that's 56, which is an F.
I'll never get over the number of conversions you've set this up, Dan.
I got a good rhythm to it, though. Now, it all makes sense in my head.
Well, that's what counts, Dan, here. And you know what else makes sense? When you're eating pulled pork, you put a little Jimmy's coleslaw right on top, Dan. Grab a jar of Jimmy's coleslaw dressing to give your slaw the zip and zing that everyone will be talking about, Dan. Available in original, fat-free, and pineapple. Jimmy's is family fun and locally owned. Delicious on burgers, brats, pulled pork, and as a summertime side. You can't go wrong with Jimmy's. Pick up a jar today. Jimmy's salad dressing and dips. Don't you be messing with my dressing.
I don't know, Jack. It looked like Herbeck pulled him off the bag.
Herbie's headlines.
Money, boom, 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 boom. So Hoag's guy, Shohei Ohtani, is the first player in the MLB this season to hit 20 home runs. I don't think there's going to be any records broken this season, Dan, unless things pick up a little bit. But still, 20 home runs at this point in the season is significant.
Maybe somebody will dangle a bet in front of him. You think, Shohei, if you can hit 65 home runs, you don't think so? Is that not?
I don't know, Dan.
You don't think that would work?
From what I understand, he has never bet in his life on anything.
Never,
Dan.
Of course not.
Yes.
Clean as a whistle. Another note you have here is that a couple is suing the Brewers over the 50-50 raffle.
So they are at the game. They buy one of those tickets and their number gets announced and they win. They're trying to find the table to turn in their ticket. But I guess it's like a 20-minute cutoff that you have to get to the table. And if you don't get there in 20 minutes, they read another number. So I guess they were like 26 minutes or 27 minutes as opposed to 20 minutes or whatever it is. It's a very small amount of time. The Brewers have changed that now, that you have 30 days to claim it. Yeah. But to me, Dan, that's ridiculous because some people spend $100, $200 on just those raffle numbers alone. And it's not no money that we're talking about here that they could win. To me, that's crazy that if you're putting that much money in, you only have 20 minutes to claim this ticket, especially if they don't know exactly where they're going, if they're new to the stadium, if they haven't gone there a ton of times. I just think some poor foresight here by the Brewers organization.
Yeah, I'm no lawyer, but I don't think that's going to hold up in court. The Brewers say, well, you should know where you're going. That doesn't... That's
I'm sure it's in the fine print, right? Like, I'm sure they have it. I'm sure their lawyers looked at it. But just from like a general... This shouldn't be a legal issue. This is just like a moral, issue, right?
Doesn't half of us go to charity? Isn't that the whole point of the 50-50 raffle?
Yeah, I would assume the charity gets their 50 regardless.
Well, I would hope so. It's like they don't have to show up.
The Brewers is like, nobody gets it because they didn't show up.
We have one other note here. It's an ESPN.com story. We don't normally link to these, but David Schoenfield, one of their baseball writers, was looking back at the last 100 days of baseball games, or the last 100 games. And the team with the best record in the majors over that stretch? You should know. I'm sure you knew this. The Detroit Tigers. And it harkens back to a wager that we made that started friendly last year and ended quite tragically for me, where if the Tigers came back and passed the Twins, I think their playoff odds, according to the article, was 0.2%. If they came back to make the playoffs, I would send David to a gaming convention of his choice. But seriously, since then, the Tigers have been the best team in baseball. They're 67-33 over the last 100 games, better than the Dodgers, who have 64 wins, the Mets with 62, and the Phillies with 61. Are we looking at a team that has staying power in the Detroit Tigers?
It's certainly looking like it. I mean, we were just talking about Javi Baez here and how he's sort of back to form somehow. I'm still not really convinced somehow, but I think so, Dan. I think that they're a team to be reckoned with, and I don't know that the Twins can really win this division at this point. I know they're staying within a reasonable gap, but my goodness, the Tigers look good, and I'm excited to see the Twins play them, to see how they look now that the Twins are sort of playing a little bit better baseball than they were at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, the next time the Twins get a chance at them is the the last series in June where they played the Tigers. So that is exciting. Lots of baseball to be played still, obviously. But quite honestly, for franchises like the Tigers who've been bad for a long time, it is nice to see, for the parity of baseball, to see them doing well.
Yes. Well, let's make our picks for the upcoming Mariners series, Dan, of which you and Hogs will be in attendance.
And we'll see you tomorrow night. Puckett's Picks.
Well, and why wouldn't we, David? Because Hogs and I are now season ticket holders for the Mariners here. So I was looking at the numbers, David, and because we're going to bring our family of 6 is going to go to one of these games, and plus we're going to have some other family kind of in town. So we were going to buy some tickets. Hogs is going, as Hogs always gets to go to one road series a year, and he's bringing a bunch of friends. And so we thought, this just makes more financial sense to put our money together here and then, become season ticket holders. So for the first time in my life, I'm a Mariners. I was very brazen about it too with the rep. I was like, I'm just doing this because I'm a Twins fan, and they're here. And they were like, great, we'll take your money. So I'm excited about this. This will be a fun one, and I'm going to try to find Hogs, and I'm even going to introduce Hogs to my family, which will be a shocking experience, I think, for the jarring experience. Maybe that's the better word.
Jarring is better. Just, you see him and you're like, oh, okay.
That's who you are. But I don't know. I have a lot of reactions to that. Like, Corey Provis is not how I thought he would look when I heard his voice.
No.
Chris Atterbury, I don't even know what the man looks like still. And he's been doing radio now for a couple years.
Corey Provis still doesn't look like the way I think he should look after I know what he looks like, Dan.
Right, exactly.
I still haven't, I'm not convinced. It's just, there's a mirage happening. But anyway, the listeners are going to take Correa off the board, and then it goes to you, Dan.
Yeah, I think I know that this is the right choice.
After all, miss, this is France.
I hear people still love Ty France in Seattle. They're not a hostile fan base, and so I think it'll be like going home to a nice, cold, warm Seattle blanket, for Ty France.
Nothing like those cold, warm blankets.
Sorry,
Dan.
that's not. It's warm enough blanket for.
It's like a pun. It's a play on words.
I thought you were going to play the other one. You're.
Sometimes I'll start a sentence and I don't even know where it's going. I just hope I find it along the way.
I thought you were going to play.
Anyway, Hogs is going to take Larnach, and then I'm going to take Brooks Lee. I think Correa is the guy to pick right now. He just looks so good, Dan.
And hopefully Byron Buxton is back for this series. He's been traveling with the team, getting all those frequent flyer miles, but hopefully he gets to play here because goodness knows they could send somebody down. If he does come back, who gets sent down?
McCusker, probably.
Yeah,
I think that's the logical choice. But with that, Dan, I'm excited to hear all about your trip to Seattle to see Hogs, and I'm going to go ahead and send us out. Well, folks, if you like what you hear, please tell a friend. You can follow us on X at Min for the Win and find our Min for the Win Facebook and Instagram pages. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform so that you're notified when new episodes are available. And if you could leave us a rating or like, we'd greatly appreciate it. If you'd like to support the show further, you can find us on Patreon. Link in the description. Thanks for listening, and as always, go Twins. That'll wrap up another episode of Men for the Win, a podcast hosted by David Kufis and Dan Thompson, two avid fans who appreciate well-played baseball, especially when it's done by the Twins. Thanks so much for listening, and as always, go Twins.